Welcome to the Meeting of Minds podcast. And more importantly, welcome to this, I've forgotten already what we're calling it, this subtitled series, this series that we're doing for the beginning of 2023, which is called the HSP Connection. That's the brainchild of me and Robbie here. Yeah, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing this together. We're going to do at least 6, but I suspect it's going to run into a few more. We've got plenty to talk about. And so we're going to be bringing to you quite a few episodes about our experiences of being HSPs, finding out, discovering we're HSPs, what that means for us, how we bring that into our work, what that means in our everyday life, what that means for people around us, how amazing and great HSPs are. So yes. we're going to be bringing all those subjects. We're going to have a bit of fun along the way. And, we both want to do this because, first of all, we get on really well. So we thought this would be a great thing to do together. Also, discovering we're HSPs has changed our lives. So we figure that it would be a really good conversation to have, because this might apply to you, listener. It might apply to somebody you know. So, if you think it's you, if you think it's somebody you know, please share these episodes. Please tell other people to listen to these episodes, because kind of that's why we're doing it. We want people to share what you're going to find out from us, in the hope that we can get the word out much more about HSP, what it means, and how people can really look after themselves as an HSP and thrive, because that's what we're both doing now. And that's why we're here. We want to come and share our thriving. So this is my off-the-cuff introduction to the HSP Connection series. So Robbie, hi, welcome back.
Hi, thank you so much, Philippa. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, it's going to be great. I'm really excited too. Now, of course, you were a guest not that long ago, episode 82. So I had to write that down. I remembered it this time. Episode 82. And, you told us a lot of your story. So, we will cover it bit by bit. We'll cover a little bit today and more during the weeks. I have told my story bit by bit in previous episodes. But there will be more to come, because our stories continue, so there will be more to come. So please do feel free, if you want to know more about Robbie, and why wouldn't you, because she's ace, so go back and find out a bit more about Robbie. But what we're going to do today, we've decided, haven't we?
Yeah. We're
going to talk about what is a HSP, what is a highly sensitive person, what does it all mean, what does it mean for us? Yeah, because, I originally thought, we'll just introduce ourselves. But then, of course, really, you're not here listening to know more about us. We'll tell you more along the way. But, let's throw it wide open and start, with the basics. What is HSP? And you're going to, are you going to be able to run us through a little bit of that, Robbie?
I can try.
You can try. Well, let's see.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I heard about HSP was several years ago. I got a hold of Dr. Elaine Aron's book, which was The Highly Sensitive Person. She wrote it in the 90s, right? And so she did a lot of work on sensory processing sensitivity. She discovered this was a thing. And she created, you've got it. Perfect.
I knew it was here somewhere. I was just looking on my bookshelf. So there it is. It's probably backwards on the camera, but The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron. Yes.
Yep. And so she has a little test in her book that you can take to see if you are a highly sensitive person. I took that test. I'm like, yes, I am. But what it meant for me was, I don't know. It's kind of like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I didn't really understand what it meant, honestly. And I'm super grateful for her research because she started the ball rolling for us. But she said, hey, our brains are wired differently. We process things differently. We have more empathy. We can get overwhelmed by stimulus, those types of things. And I read that and I was like, I mean, kind of, but I also wasn't totally connecting. I don't know if you had a similar experience when you.
Yeah, I can't, I think, how did it, so I didn't read the book for quite a while. I'd already heard about HSP. I think I know what it was. I have lots of podcasts. I love a podcast, and I listen to loads of them. And one that I regularly listen to, Julie Beeland was a guest on. And I actually, before that, I was doing a counselling foundation course for a year back in 2017. And on that course, there was a woman who was always eating in the middle of, she's always snacking on some nuts or something in the middle of what we were doing. And she used to keep saying, oh, I'm very highly sensitive, so I need to eat a lot. So I just, if I'm really honest, I just thought that was a little bit affected.
I was just going to say you were judging her a bit, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah.
I absolutely was. And whether she meant she was an HSP, I don't know. But she said, I'm very sensitive and us sensitives need to eat. And I was thinking, oh, maybe that's why I, that's how I got to how I am. But so that was the only time I'd ever really come across people owning their sensitivity, actually.
Yeah.
And she quite openly was saying she was highly sensitive. So fast forward a little bit. And Julie Beeland was a guest on this podcast. And then I found Julie's podcast and I was listening to a lot of Julie's episodes. And the more she talked about high sensitivity, the more she talked about how it is to be highly sensitive, the more I really began to recognize that this was me. I didn't jump for joy, but I also didn't crawl away and hide either. It was very much, oh, this is interesting. But I didn't really come from having been shamed throughout my life for being sensitive, because I think I hid my sensitivity really early on. So it was all a revelation to me after I'd finished my therapy and sort of taken that top layer of sort of trauma off. The next thing I discovered was underneath it all, there was this highly sensitive person. What? Oh. Yeah. And it really helped answer my question at the time that was going through my head. It's like, okay, so who am I now? Now I'm not driven by all this trauma. Who am I? So, and then, so I listened to that more and more and more. And Willow was then a guest, and then I came across Willow, and we've talked about Willow in your episode. We'll talk about Willow. We'll talk about Julie, I'm sure, more during the course of this podcast. And then I got the book. So I got the book after I'd already knew something, and I'd already probably decided I was probably HSP, because I'd done the test on Julie's, I'd done the test on Willow's, which, I mean, they're very similar. And, I was scoring nearly full, I tick, 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 tick. I was nearly all of them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it was quite clear to me at that stage that I was indeed sensitive. And I remember I sent a text to two friends of mine saying, okay, I've got something to tell you. And they were on my counselling foundation course with me, so they kind of understood. I said, I've got something to tell you. It's really important. I want you to know that I'm highly sensitive. And I remember sitting on my bed pressing send and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to admit it. I'm going to tell them I'm highly sensitive. Oh, this is such a big moment for me. Nothing. Nothing for days.
Just no response at all.
No response.
Oh, my goodness.
And then when I went, hi, everybody okay? Because we're in a WhatsApp group. Hi, everybody okay? Did anybody read my message? And they went, oh yeah. Like they didn't realize that it was like, it was a really, really big deal for me. I mean, had they realized, they probably would have reacted more. But yeah, so that was my introduction to sort of owning my HSP.
Penis.
No. You told me off for doing that before. My HS penis. Now I can't say it without.
Oh,
The
no.
essence of being an HSP.
Yes, yes.
Sorry, coming back to the book. So by the time I read the book, and like the subtitle is How to Thrive When the World Overwhelms You.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure that's very well meaning, but I found this book quite hard going, and it didn't really connect with. I didn't feel a connection with it, like I'd felt a connection with the things that Julie talks about and the things that Willow talks about. So, and I think that's largely because this book is 30 years old.
Right.
She was an academic. She was
Absolutely.
she was investigating sensory processing sensitivity, not disorder, not to be confused with the disorder, sensory processing sensitivity. And, from that, she came up with this sort of tagline, the highly sensitive person. And it's sort of gone on from there, really. And I think Julie and Willow, in their different ways, are taking it to a different level.
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Because in here, it feels like it's a problem, like it's, what did I say? I think did I call it dirge earlier? Well, it just, I don't know, and maybe it's the language of the 90s, I don't know, but I really didn't connect with that. Whereas when you hear Julie explaining how to meet your needs as a sensitive person and how to thrive as a sensitive person, I mean, that really resonates. When you hear Willow talk about your gifts as a highly sensitive person and the gifts you bring to the world, and how we need highly sensitive people to be leaders and to use all those gifts to lead the to lead us to a better place. That's what resonates with me more so than that book. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question.
Beautiful answer. Yes. So we came upon the book at different stages. The book was my very first introduction to anything about it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't and I totally know what you're saying about it. It's definitely academic. And I think she was trying to write it for the academic community, saying, hey, there's this thing that we haven't identified before, and it is separate from these other disorders. Like, this is a thing, this is an inherent trait that some humans have, and we need to research it more, So it wasn't life-shattering when I first read that book. I was kind of like, oh, okay. But really didn't know what to do with it, And then after I had my, traumatic health challenges, and I started trying to research more about, okay, how do I tick and what do I need and how can I thrive? Then I remembered, I'm like, there's this highly sensitive thing that I keep testing off the charts for, And at that point, I think my frame of reference was, oh, that's the label for the thing that's wrong with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I can,
because this is why I get overwhelmed. This is why I need more things at work than other people. I need more breaks. I can't handle so much peopling as my wife, like, this is what's wrong with me.
Yes.
But then as I started going to counseling, and then I found the Highly Sensitive Refuge blog. And in that blog, Julie Bieland had written something. And so I found her site, and then she had these classes. So I took some of those classes, it's really all about how to give your system what you need and how to, so that you can truly regulate your system. She talks about HSPs kind of being like orchids, which they need really specific things in order to thrive. But then when they thrive, they're this beautiful, unique thing. And that, plus my counseling, self-compassion, then I started going, oh, this isn't just a label of what's wrong with me. Like, if I can give my system what it needs, there's these magical powers I have that other people don't have. I can, bring really good stuff to the world. And then from Julie, I found Willow. And his work is just amazing. Yeah,
it's really, and you make a really important point there, that I think sensitivity is usually used in a negative sort of way, especially when we're children.
Yeah.
Oh, don't be so sensitive, or oh, like the lady I interviewed the other week, and she was saying, she knew she was sensitive, and all her family, they said, oh, that's just Jen, she's sensitive. And it's almost like it is a bit of a disadvantage, because it's not fitting that like mold, or that sort of,
That's right.
We're a bit different.
Yeah.
But then actually lots of people are different. We're all,
my gosh,
individuals, aren't we?
Yes.
We're our own, we're all our own beautiful, unique selves, but we try to fit ourselves into boxes.
Yep.
Partly because that feels the safest thing to do sometimes. Partly because we're forced into them sometimes, by families, by organizations, by whatever, whatever our life, whatever those things are in our life can force us into a box. And I looking back, I definitely felt a lot of times that I couldn't do life as well as other people could.
Yes.
But I had no idea that had anything to do with sensitivity.
Yes.
But that's what it,
something wrong.
But I did. Yes, I did. I absolutely did. And I felt broken, and I felt not worthy, and I just wasn't getting life as much as everybody else did. But I put all that down to, I didn't then realize what I'd experienced was trauma, but I put it all down to the way I'd been conditioned at home, which was full of trauma. So I didn't realize so when the trauma was lifted, it sort of gave space, for this other part of me to actually really breathe. So I did know that I was different, but I just took that as a sign that I was broken. And I also hid it very well.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time and energy hiding the fact that I found life so hard. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't let on. Nobody knew. I just tried to do all these things, and then wondered why I was like perpetually shattered and just not, I don't know, the ultimate push through. And anyway, I mean, sorry, I'm not all about me, but it's just, that's my experience.
Yes.
Which is different to yours.
And sadly, I think neither of our experiences are unique. I think there are, so many folks out there, who have had something similar.
Yes.
To either one of us.
Yeah, you're right. Also, I suppose for me, when I discovered that I was HSP, I'd already been through 3 years of therapy, and I'd already done an awful lot of working out that my nervous system was constantly on high alert, and was constantly I was on the edge all the time. So I'd already, as part of my healing from my trauma, worked out how to calm my nervous system. And the things that really worked for me. So by the time I discovered I was an HSP, I kind of I was already in that place.
Yeah. You had already learned some tools, then you learned the label afterward.
Yes. And whereas for you, I know you needed to learn the tools that helped you thrive as an HSP, because you were sort of forced there because of your health condition.
Yeah.
Well, I was forced there because of losing the sight in my eye. So we were all forced there one way or another, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, if our system doesn't get what it needs, things start breaking down. Things happen.
Yeah. And actually that actually applies to everybody. It doesn't just apply to HSPs. Right. I think we start to see the signs of it a little bit earlier, because our bodies are that bit more sensitive to these things. But that applies to everybody, doesn't it?
Yes.
So everything that we're talking about in these episodes, I can't remember if I said that in the intro or not, but everything we're talking about actually is going to apply to everybody. Yeah. It's not just
HSPs. That's right. The things that make the world better for HSPs will make the world better for everyone.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're quite anti-establishment, aren't they? They're quite anti.
Yes, they are.
Anti where the world is at now, really. So,
yeah.
And you know, that's what we're going to need to do to thrive. So you've got, have you got a list? Am I right? Of like the innate sort of the way of breaking the trait down that Elaine Aron came up with, because we just want to unpick this a little bit, don't we?
Yeah. Here's what Elaine said, the kind of 5 things. One is depth of processing. So we take in more information than non-HSPs, a lot more. Because of that, we are more easily overstimulated.
Yeah.
Because we're processing more things.
Yeah.
We have emotional responsiveness. So we feel things very deeply, high highs and low lows. Like we just feel things in a very big way. We have acute awareness of stimulations. So that's where I think we talked on my episode where lights can be too bright, or, you know, for me, it can be smells. It can be the texture of something, like I'm wearing something really soft and cozy, like the way my clothes feel really matters to me. So any of those stimulations, like we're very aware of them. We're very conscious of them. And the 5th one is empathy. Like we are very empathic. We have large amounts of empathy for folks.
So when you just read them off as a list, although actually the way you're reading them is making them sound a bit more positive, but when you just read them off as a list, they can sound really, really like big and grey and like, oh God, who would want that? Can't they?
Yes,
and when you read that list out to me just before we started recording, I was like, oh my God, that's like... Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first heard it, depth of processing, easy overstimulation, emotional responsiveness, acute awareness of stimulations, empathy. I'm like, well, empathy seems good, but the rest of those,
the rest I can leave.
I could leave that. Yeah.
But actually, when you look at them in a little bit more in real life, actually, there are things that we totally understand and things that we're doing. So you know, the taking, is it like 10 I think it's 10 times more data, is it 10 or 100? We take in a lot more data than the non-HSPs do. So an HSP in a room will be, you know, without thinking, they'll be scanning the room, they'll be working out the way people are standing, the way people are moving, the way they're talking with each other, what's happening with their eyes, what's happening with their mouth, what's happening with their hands, it's just somebody look as though they might be a little bit too hot, does somebody look like they might be a little too cold, does somebody look like they need somebody to go and speak to them, does somebody need to sit down, does somebody want to drink, you know, all this is those two look like they've just had an argument, those two look like they want something else, you know. Exactly. Have you noticed? And that one over there is pregnant. I've picked up so many people who are pregnant at work, but anyway, that's all beside the point. So but we're just picking up all those nuances, those little details that are giving us information.
That's right.
And I mean, I've always known I've done that. What I didn't know is that not everybody can do that. Not everybody does that. It's not like I go, I've chosen to do this. I just do it.
That's right.
Which, you know, made me a very annoying child, because I could sense of all the stuff that was going on at home. So I would go, well, what's going on? You know, so
you would notice things.
I did notice, I could feel it. I wanted answers. So I was constantly asking those questions that my parents would have preferred me not to be, because they were hoping nobody was noticing. But you know, now in reality, you know, I can, I don't know, like, you know, for instance, I can, you know, when my kids walk in from school, I can just sense, you know, what do they need? Do they want something to eat? Do they want something to drink? Do they want a hug? Do they just want me to leave them alone, you know? And I know a lot of parents can do that, but I I feel I can do that on a really deep, it's like I'm reading something in them.
Yes.
There's a connection, and it's sort of like without, and sometimes without even saying anything, I can feel like I have that connection.
Yes.
So, and that's actually bloody marvelous. I wouldn't want to not have that.
Right.
So yes, we take in more data. Yes, we're processing all the time. So actually, yeah, we can get more tired with it, and we need to make sure we're getting breaks and all those things. But actually, the joy that comes from taking in all that data and what we realize from all that data, I would not want to be without.
Me neither. Yeah, I would feel lost, honestly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know how to navigate the world.
No, I don't think I would, because I really rely on that like little spidey sense to help me work out, am I safe in it? A lot of the time, I safe in this environment? Or do I just need to be a bit careful here? Or what can I give here? And what do I need to keep back? You know, it really does. Yeah, it's like you say, I wouldn't want to be without that. No. Yeah. Well, I've always had it. I just didn't realize what it was.
Which is so common for HSPs, right?
Yes.
We walk around the world doing this because it's how we're wired. We don't realize, until it's really pointed out to us, we don't realize that non-HSPs don't see the world this way, and that because of that, like, we have something additional we can offer, because we are picking up things that non-HSPs don't notice.
Yes.
So we have more information to share, and we're able to connect differently.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember when I started coaching, I've only ever coached on Zoom, because that's when I started, when we were in the middle of the pandemic. And people have said to me, clients have said to me, I don't know how you do this over Zoom. I don't know how we managed to form such a great connection over Zoom. I've never experienced anything like that before. And when a few clients had said that, I thought, oh, there's something going on here.
Yes.
And that's my HSP ness.
Yes, it is.
Coming in. It really, it's the essence of my HSP trait that enables me to do that. I mean, I prefer it in real life, don't get me wrong, but equally, I could only then work with people in my locality. So, and yeah, it feels to me like a gift.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and like you said, you wouldn't want to be without it.
I really wouldn't know how to navigate. And now that I know much better how to regulate my system,
yes,
then I'm able to appreciate these gifts and use these gifts.
Yes.
What was true for me before is I was in a state of overstimulation for years. And so it was just like I felt like I was a drowning person, and I would every so often, like, my nose would poke up out of the water. I'd take a breath, and then I'd be flailing about again, and so it's hard to then recognize any gifts when you're in that mode. But when you can learn to regulate your system, then you can enjoy the gifts that are on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very, I mean, it's exactly the same nervous system state as being in a trauma response. So, you know, who knows now whether actually me being there was, how much of it was trauma and how much of it was HSP, but it was quite a concoction for quite a long time. And, you know, also, as another lady that I interviewed recently was saying, that, you know, because we feel things so much deeper, which is like point 2 on there, we do feel them more deeply. We have this real rich inner life where we're really in connection with our feelings. And, you know, that's why we are very easily brought to tears by music, by art, by, I don't know, just a beautiful summer's day, or a beautiful winter's day, you know, whichever season takes your fancy. And you know, because we have that, we're feeling things really deeply. And
I don't know what happened there. Sorry. Hello.
all right. So we're feeling things really deeply. And actually, if we are HSPs experiencing trauma, we are actually more likely to be feeling that trauma more deeply than a non-HSP experiencing the same trauma. And that just goes to show that everybody's reaction to trauma is different. You know, everyone's story is different. And actually, you know, we're not saying none of this is about HSPs are better than non-HSPs.
Well, no.
Well, but you know, we are 20%, 20, 30% between that, you know, of the population. There are a lot more non-HSPs than there are HSPs. It's all about raising awareness that the percentage that we fall in, there are less of us, but we're not weak. We're not so sensitive that we can't be leaders, that we can't be at the forefront of advances in all areas of life, that we can't use our voices and be heard, you know, because we're not all sitting in the corner being very quiet. Some of us may well be, just like some non-HSPs may well be, prefer to be quietly on their own, you know, but actually no, we're very definitely HSPs, and we want to be here putting our voices out in the world. And we've created this safe space for us to do that. Absolutely.
You know, you're right. We're not better. We're not trying to say that we're better. We're also saying that we're not worse, right? We're an important part of the fabric, right? We're an important part of the fabric of humanity, that we bring things to the table that non-HSPs don't, and they bring things to the table that we don't. But we're an important piece. You know, and that one of the things in studying the trait, like it shows up in hundreds of other animal species. Like, so this is something that nature has said, hey, these traits are important. So yeah, we're an important piece. We're an important piece.
Willow, when Willow talks about that, he always says, you know, it's not an accident. You know, we are meant to be here because of the gifts that we bring, because of the differences that we bring. You know, like we're deeply intuitive, and we have a great connection with our intuition, and we know how to listen to it, we know how to follow it. We don't push it to one side and do what everybody else is telling us to do. We actually listen to our intuition because there is a reason that our intuition is telling us to do that. And like you said, you know, I remember when I was on my counseling foundation course, it was all about the core, you know, core skills of people-centered counselling, and it was all about empathy, unconditional positive regard, and congruence. And I got what congruence was. I wasn't being congruent at the time, but I understood the idea of, like, you know, those two marrying up. I got unconditional positive regard. Empathy, I'm like, oh my God, what's this empathy thing? I don't know what it is. Oh God, I was reading about it. I was thinking, oh God, I just don't know what it is. And then I was like, oh, it's that. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can do that. That's actually not a problem. And because, you know, my, you know, starting point is always like, oh, you know, I'm no good at this. So, you know, what is it? And I just assumed that for some reason it was so, I don't know, such a big thing. And I just didn't understand it. And this was going to be a massive problem. But it turned out actually the empathy comes really quite easily. And you know, so the whole point of sensitivity is that there's a scale for everything. 100%. And you know, all HSPs are sort of, you know, have got certain traits, and then as you go higher up the scale, you know, or this is where the way Julie talks about it, some people talk about empaths and HSPs being very different. You can be both, but you could be an empath without being an HSP, or you could be an HSP without being an empath. So I think that's still a little bit confusing, and I don't think there's one school of thought around that yet, as far as I can see.
You're right.
What would you say about being, so all HSPs are capable of experiencing and giving and being empathic. So that's one side of empathy.
Yes.
The other is being an empath.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of different language used by different people around this, and I am not professing to say I understand all of it. I really am not. But I hear people say I'm an empath, and most people who say they are empaths, it means that they feel other people's feelings.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great challenge. It must be at times, and I think it's very hard sometimes to work out, okay, I'm feeling this, but is it me that's feeling it, or am I feeling it from somebody I'm with? Am I feeling it from the collective? Where is it coming from? But actually, you can feel feelings really strongly, and if they're not yours, that must be really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I'm definitely not really high on the empath scale. What about you? What do you think?
I'm very high on the empath scale.
Are you?
Yeah. So that thing that you were just describing absolutely is my experience. So I will feel something, and for most of my life, I just thought I was just feeling something. It was mine.
Yes.
Or if I could, like, if I was sitting across from a person, I knew how they were feeling. But like if an emotion just came, I just assumed it was mine. Now I do the thing where I'm like, is this mine? Is this somebody else's? Is this the collective's? It can be very discombobulating sometimes.
I don't think I experience that, but I can imagine, because I can feel the, with my powers of empathy, I can understand, I can feel how discombobulating that must be.
Yeah.
I don't think I do. Or I think I'm quite, I don't think I'm high up. I do think I can feel other people's stuff, but it's not to the point. I don't think I feel it quite as strongly as you do.
Yeah.
And again, all that comes with its own gift and challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just like anything.
Yeah. But and there are ways of, once you know that, there are ways of helping with that. There are ways of, be it protective lights, protective bubbles, be it constantly asking yourself that question, is this mine, or is it, whose is this? And visualizing giving it back, and all those things.
All the things. Yeah.
All the things. I wonder if I'm going to discover that about myself. I don't think I am. But it's a lifelong journey of learning.
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So just remind, is there anything else on that list that maybe we should touch on a little bit more? But I think we're going to talk about those things as we go along.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I think this is a really great place to end this just introduction to what we're doing, why we're doing it, and a bit of an intro into HSP. Do you think there's something, there's anything else would be a good idea to cover today?
I think we've hit on the basics. I think you said in the show notes we'll have links for people, so if they want to go find out more for themselves or for somebody they love, we'll have places they can go.
Yeah, we'll link to the blog, the Highly Sensitive Refuge, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll link to that. We'll link to Julie's website, and there's a quiz on there. We'll link to Willow's website, and there's a quiz on there. Yeah. The reason we talk about these people a lot, because they've been quite big on our journeys. And I met you. We met each other in Willow's coaching.
We did.
Group.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that, how we connected.
We didn't talk about that, how we connected, but maybe we can, I think that will come out in other episodes. And we talked about a little bit about that in your episode, but that's how we connected. And that's why we talk about these people, because they've been very instrumental in our journeys, and also bringing us together to doing this.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I'm just a firm believer that HSPs can benefit hugely from finding community. So, both Willow and Julie have communities and they have resources. And, it helps so much just not to feel alone. So, go find those resources, reach out, keep knowing that you're not here by yourself. There's others of us.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We'd love to connect with you.
We absolutely would, because I would love, as part of this, if we build some sort of community, even no matter how small it is, that would be incredible, wouldn't it? So
Yes,
I really, if anybody's listening to this and wants to get in touch with us, we absolutely mean please get in touch with us.
Yes.
I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows whether we have a community, what it looks like, but we can certainly have community around this podcast. So please do get in touch if you've got any questions. We'll do our best. We will share whatever knowledge we have. I mean, we're not experts, but we're living it. So that's why we're here talking about it. So we're definitely experts as far as our lived experience goes. I wouldn't say I've deep dived into all the academic stuff around it, because I just don't feel I need to or want to. I know what I know, and when I need to know more, I'll go and find something else. So so I think that's a good place to end. I think it is. So that's a good place to end for this first episode. We're going to release two. So this one's going to go out, and the next one will go out quite within a couple of days, to give you a couple of episodes to listen to while we get into our groove. And then we'll have one every week, unless something stops us. I don't know. You never know what's going to happen, but that's what we aim to do. We're going to bring you at least 6. I think we both Robbie and I know there's going to be more than 6. So not quite sure. Let's see how long we keep talking for.
That's right.
If you get in touch with us and send us subjects or ask us questions, then that will keep us going even more. So please do. We would love to hear from you. But for today, that's enough. So bye from me.
And bye from me.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website, www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.